Hey everyone, it's me, Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, back with an update on the MediaMuv case. This is the case where YouTube paid out some $20+ million via ContentID claims to a party, MediaMuv, and Webster Batista Fernandez here, who did not own the rights to those things. I made a video about this earlier. I will post a link to it there if you want some heavier background about it, because we're going to look through this defendant's plea agreement here, where he has now pled guilty to conspiracy and wire fraud that he's pleading guilty to for monetizing content on YouTube that he did not have the right to. You'll also get to see his version of what he did, because the court required him to tell the story of what he did wrong. By pleading guilty to conspiracy and wire fraud, Batista is agreeing to a maximum fine of $250,000, a maximum term of imprisonment for 5 years, supervised release of 3 years, and maximum probation of 5 years. And that's all for the conspiracy count. For the wire fraud count, the maximum fine is also $250,000, but the maximum term of imprisonment is 20 years, supervised release of 3 years, probation of 5 years. He must make restitution to any victim, and we're going to see that totals around $23 to $25 million. He must pay a fine, serve supervised release, pay a $100 special assessment. Then there's a list of forfeited property. This is property that he allegedly purchased or obtained through the fraudulent activity. Real property located at 1725 Burnside Trail, Phoenix, Arizona, which is apparently a $1 million estate or $1.1 million estate in Phoenix. Looks like a very nice property. A lot in Maricopa County, Arizona. I'm not sure how to look that up. $2,600 seized from PNC Bank, $452 seized from PNC Business, $68,000 seized from a PNC Bank business savings account, $218,241 seized from a JP Morgan Chase account, a 2017 Tesla C100D. There doesn't appear to be a Tesla C, maybe it's a Tesla X100D, which would look like this. A 2014 BMW i8, that's a nice car. Suggested retail price of $136,000. $141,424 seized from a National Bank of Arizona account, and $589,833 seized from a Fifth Third Bank account. So wait a second, if we total those numbers up, he's basically got $1 million in the bank that's been seized, plus the house is worth about $1 million. Maybe the cars are worth $100,000. So he's got about $2.1 million to pay back $23 million. I have a feeling that this guy is never going to pay it back. Forfeiture shall not be treated as satisfaction of any fine, restitution, cost of imprisonment, or other penalty. So the forfeiture is on top of the $23 million he's got to pay back. And now on to the factual basis, the statement of what he did. The defendant admits that the following facts are true, and that if this matter were to proceed to trial, the United States could prove the following facts beyond a reasonable doubt. I, Webster Batista Fernandez, Jose Turan, and other co-conspirators worked together to monetize music on YouTube we had no lawful rights to monetize or otherwise control. Sometime in 2016, I discovered there were recorded songs of musicians and bands on the internet that were not being monetized. I began searching for these songs and uploading them to YouTube as MP3 files. I falsely claimed legal ownership over them and began receiving royalty payments. In early 2017, we created an entity called MediaMuv LLC for the purpose of falsely claiming large swaths of music recordings we had no legal rights to whatsoever. We were partners, and we co-owned and managed this illegal operation. Using MediaMuv, we entered a contract with YouTube to utilize their content management system, CMS, to monetize music we purportedly owned and controlled. We also entered a contract with a third party, AR, to assist us in administering the music we fraudulently claimed. On or about February 13th, 2017, I sent an email to YouTube from MediaMuv@hotmail.com. To conceal my involvement, I signed the email in the name of another person. In my email, I falsely claimed MediaMuv owned over 50,000 songs and was seeking access to YouTube's content management system. Once I gained access to YouTube's system, we began uploading MP3 files of music we fraudulently claimed to own or control. We would use a GC tool called HB to search for recorded Latin music from musicians and bands on YouTube that we could fraudulently monetize. At some point, we hired over 5 co-conspirators to use Heartbeat, which I guess is HB, to search for Latin music. If they found recorded music that had not been monetized, we directed them to download the MP3 of the song so that we could then upload the song to YouTube through the content management system. We would pay the co-conspirators a portion of the royalties we received for the songs they downloaded. For accounting purposes, we directed the co-conspirators to create fictitious record label names such as J&C Records on the song recordings they downloaded. In July of 2017, Tehran and I fraudulently created 3 contracts with companies that purportedly managed certain artists. We then emailed those contracts to AR and YouTube in July of 2017 for the purpose of deceiving them into allowing us to continue our fraudulent operation. It was part of our conspiracy to create a false sense of legitimacy for MediaMuv by sending interstate emails to AR and YouTube that were purportedly from MediaMuv employees JF, JP, OL, and others. These were fictitious employees, and we did not have authorization to use the identities of real people in this manner. It was also a part of our conspiracy to direct interstate wire transactions of royalty payments into accounts in our name or control. We would transfer these funds into other accounts and or use the funds to pay for our lavish lifestyles. The wire transactions of royalty payments, which were paid from YouTube to AR and then to Tehran and I, represented proceeds of our fraud and typically exceeded $10,000. Throughout the life of our conspiracy, we fraudulently received approximately $23.4 million. All of the assets listed in Section 8, titled Forfeiture, Civil, and Administrative Proceedings, represent proceeds of the fraud described above or are traceable to such proceeds. I transferred some assets that were acquired with proceeds of my offenses to Omida Batista. Neither Omida, Eddie, Hugo Flores, nor Carrie Arellano paid anything for the assets listed in Section 8. None of us had the legal rights to monetize all the songs we claimed through YouTube and AR from 2016 to present. So then he enters a guilty plea, and he is fined up to $250,000, another $250,000, other fines, etc., and does have to pay back the $23 million. No, we don't have the final sentence yet, but he will be required to face that sentence of 250 times 2,000 and up to 5 or 20 years in prison, and then pay restitution not to exceed $25 million. So yeah, that's a heck of a thing to do, to claim $23.46 million worth of Content ID monetization fraudulently or illegally. On one hand, at least they were doing it to people who weren't monetizing their content, as opposed to taking it from people who were trying to make their living monetizing their content. But I don't think that makes it any better. Practically, at least they weren't taking money from people who were trying to make the money. They were taking money from people who didn't make the money, they saw an opportunity to make the money. Maybe someone else was monetizing that. Maybe that would have been YouTube's gain or some other music company's gain or something. But yeah, $23.46 million by fraudulently claiming Content ID. This kind of reminds me of the Bungie case, where someone claimed Bungie's copyright in order to send a bunch of fraudulent DMCA notices. And YouTube just listens and YouTube just obeys. I can't get YouTube to obey anything, including their agreement that I felt like they made for a channel representative when I reached 100,000 subscribers. They denied me a channel representative, and I didn't think they were allowed to do that because that was one of the rewards that was given for reaching 100,000 subscribers. But apparently they listened to scammers and fraudsters without question. That's Just an interesting comparison there for you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It just means they were smart enough to go after targets less likely to protest. Yeah, that seems like a smart thing to do as a criminal. If you're trying to get away with your crime, commit a crime against someone who's not going to notice it. How does that Arrested Development scene go? Why should you pay for a crime just because somebody else noticed? Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my top supporters in April: John Steele, Eevi, Spirit Bear, Benjamin Hitov, Ugly Grill, Torpedan, Gutbrodj, ShadowTycho, Earthbound Star, PureMagma, Eric Tams, TechTechPotato, The Blood-Soaked Survivors, Wyatt, Calandro, and King Aries. You can support Lawful Masses on patreon.com/ljfrench, sponsors.com/law, through YouTube memberships, and through Floatplane subscriptions. Join me for our weekly live production stream on twitch.tv/lawfulmasses on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern US time. I hope everyone has a great week. I love you all. Bye.